My slips, my falls, my trials and tribulations, my heart, my balls, my somebody stop me, somebody come and get me. Little did I know that the Lord was riding with me. The dark, the light, my heart, the fight, the wrong, the right is gone.
Hey, what's going on out there? YouTube family, this is Samuel Leggett representing Team JVS. I'm here today to give you guys a review for Irishman. Scorsese is back with what I would call his magnum opus of the genre of gangster film, with this 3-hour, 30-minute epic that's going straight to Netflix. I'm talking about The Irishman, of course. The cast is enormous. They've got everyone in this cast, to be quite honest with you. But I'm going to break it down for you guys as best I can. So the synopsis reads, a mob hitman recalls his possible involvement in the slaying of Jimmy Hoffa. So, you got Jesse Plemons, play the role of Todd, of course, in Breaking Bad. Robert De Niro, Anna Paquin, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel, Bobby Cannonvale, who played a role in, of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man. And the list just goes on and on and on and on. And this is epic. This was amazingly epic. But I don't know how to sit there and try to tackle this. I didn't even think about it. I have so many different notes, but I think I'm gonna freehand this, to be quite honest with you, because while I was watching it, I was completely caught off guard by how this took me to this place of like, man, this is terrible life. Like most of the gangster films, of course, yeah, there's circumstances that happen, you're like, okay, yeah, they deserve this, you know, or no, they're coming up, they're trying to do this. Oh, you're putting yourself in this situation, you shouldn't do this. Well, Robert De Niro's character starts off with a very simple premise. Like, he's just a truck driver, you know, rolling around, and he goes and meets Joe Pesci's character somewhere off the road, and he helps him out with his truck, and then the movie goes from there. But that's not the way that the movie organically flows. The movie starts with him at a certain age, and you're like, wait, is this where the movie's going? Like, why? Wait, where are they going with this? And then all of a sudden, you start to see Robert De Niro talk, and you see him like completely aged, like in his like 70s or possible 80s, and then he starts going this open-line dialogue, and I'm like, wait, why is this so jarring? Why is it going back and forth, back and forth? I realized that the movie said, forget exposition, I will show you. So instead of like, okay, bet, this time when I was in the military, when I went through this circumstance of trauma, like, and I can't believe this happened, they're actually showing it. And I was like, yo, that's a feat. And I realize now why the budget is so high, because the VFX, the cinematography, the score are probably some of the best of this entire year. The de-aging of this movie. Now, Marvel has done some amazing things. They've done, no, not even just Marvel, I'm sorry, Disney has done some amazing things. What they were able to do with Rogue One, amazing. What they were able to do with, of course, you know, some of the Marvel films of de-aging, like Michael Douglas, for instance, in Ant-Man, amazing. I think one of the first ones that tried to do this was, of course, Tron Legacy. This takes that and says, oh, I'll show you how to do this, because to be honest with you, it's almost perfect. The only thing I could even, if I'm nitpicking here, because this is the bar. They've hit the bar. They've got the bar. They've won it. Is maybe there's some glossing with the eyes with Robert De Niro. Only Robert De Niro. Everybody else, when they de-age, whether it's Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, they legitimately look like who they. And I was like caught off guard, because I was like, is this just good makeup? But then no, what they do, because they go back and forth with, you know, not show exposition, they show these men completely aged and what they actually look like in present day. You're like, oh my gosh. And then you realize they aged them up. And I was like, yo, the technology in this is just some of the best I think I've ever seen. And the score, like, it's so atmospheric, because, like, of course, it's the Irishman. There are different moments and different scores and different like things that would kind of make you kind of like feel uncomfortable. The other part of the cinematography of this, I would say, is just the way how viscerally violent moments happen. And I think that's a compliment to the way that you know how like you got like a scene that's like a gun scene where you see somebody like shoot, and then it pans, you see somebody getting shot. This is like, oh no, the person's here, I'm here, pop, you're seeing it, and then the person just walks away. Like it's a compliment to the spacing and the wide angle shots and the imagery, and even like there's certain moments where when there's like a car like kind of driving around and maneuvering around, or maneuvering around a person that's de-aged and it's still keeping like the same exact rhythm and smoothness, is amazing. But specifically when there's gunfire that goes off, it feels like there's actual gunfire going off. What I mean by that is, most people that know guns, like you're in a gun range, like you have a different wide range of different assortment of weapons that you can use. Like if you use like, you know, a shotgun, like you can feel it. You use like a handgun, depending on which handgun you feel, like it's a jerk back. And so, but you normally have muffs on. When there's actual gunfire going on, people do this. Like they jerk and they do that. You do that in this movie because of the sound design, the editing for it literally feels like gunfire is going off, and you're literally just kind of caught off guard every single time, whether it's Robert Niro killing somebody, whether it's, you know, somebody else dying or somebody else pulling the trigger on something. You're completely caught off guard with every single gunfire, and I think that's a compliment to it, because like it really does feel like this is really happening. The other side of this is what the efforts that Martin did with making sure you felt like these are the times. There's, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did it some of the best, where you go through like these shots where it would go through the cityscape and you see all these different cars. Like this movie spared no expense of cars and assortments of items and like just removing any kind of form of technology and just making you feel like you're a part of these times. And I think that it was almost perfect. Like, and honestly, it was just insane. And notice I have not talked about anything about the story. I haven't even talked about the acting yet. So let's get into the acting. This is, I would say, Al Pacino's best film in about 10 years. He acts his tail. It's Jimmy Hoffa. He's got this interesting dialect and different accent that I was like, he is trying here. Like, he is going in on this character. And he looks like he's having so much fun with it. Like, he is just emotionally driven, passionate, and at the same exact time like reserved, and you feel like this film like, yeah, he's a little off, and like Pacino nails it. And the other side of this is the other thing. Joe Pesci, his role in this one, like I don't think I've ever seen Joe Pesci like this. Because normally Joe Pesci has like these kind of comedic kind of moments where he's kind of like really the funny guy, or like he's gonna said something that's kind of like, you know, off kilter but really kind of like hilarious. He's not funny as Russell in this one. He's not funny at all. Matter of fact, he's got ice in his veins. And I mean that. Like there's moments where I was sitting there watching him just kind of just like, and then like just nudge somebody to do this. Like there was never, I don't know that he actually even cracked it. Like, you know how like Joe Pesci has this like funny laugh? He didn't do that this entire movie. Like he had ice in his veins. He was a stone cold gangster. Like Godfather level, matter of fact. And I think that between him and Al, like they have some standout performances in this. And it's crazy because normally he's just never this reserved. Pesci is never this reserved, and he dedicated himself to this role. I would say that for De Niro, I would comment on is the different wide ranges of different age changes that he goes through. Like he played the age changes so well, where he's a little bit in his 30s, like he plays it just so naturally and effortlessly. Then when he comes to his own and a little bit of power and a little bit of like, you know, accolades behind his name, respect on his name, so to speak, like he plays it perfectly. And then when you got the older version, like I was like, yo, the older version, for real, Robert De Niro, he plays that on a role that I was kind of like, yeah, you could get nominated too. Like, I don't know where they're gonna go with nominations for real, for real. When it gets to Golden Globes and Academies, they're gonna all get nominated for something. I almost guarantee it, because they play their roles so tightly, so well, that it's borderline uncomfortable, certain things that they actually really do. Like, I would say that between Joe Pesci as role of Russell and Al Pacino's role as Jimmy Hoffa, there was some moments, like there's specifically a moment where Joe Pesci at a bowling alley, I just felt so uncomfortable for Robert De Niro and Robert De Niro with his daughter. And then there's a moment with Jimmy Hoffa where they're kind of at a hotel, and I was like feeling uncomfortable as well for Robert De Niro. But then the other thing is, I didn't even talk about like their moments together. Their moments together are golden, fam. Oh my gosh. There's a moment where Robert De Niro and Al Pacino have this like heated kind of discussion after a meeting, and it's just so naturally funny, but at the same time so serious. And I would say that the scripting is really good, man. Like, there's some really good character moments, opportunities for them to really truly strut who they are, put some respect on their name as actors. And I mean, that's not to say that anybody else is any less, because everybody has their moment to shine. Everybody has their moment to like immerse themselves and dig their hands into this gangster universe that Martin has developed over the years and just maneuvered in ways that we could never even dreamed or imagined. This is easily a 10 out of 10. Like, this is one of the better gangster films I think I've seen in years. And if he never does another gangster film ever, this is his magnum opus. This is his enlightenment to what his impression of the beginning of being a gangster and the evolutionary process of way you go out as a gangster. And I gotta give compliment where compliments due. This was a masterpiece, honestly. And it is long. But the other thing I would say is that because this is so long, the fact that they were able to never have me feeling of a point where like there wasn't enough for me to be in it is a compliment to the directing, because this is a 3-hour and 30-minute long movie. Like, there was never a moment that I was kind of like, oh, well, they lost my attention. Like, they found ways of just going and going and going and going and going. And I see why this could have been a miniseries, yes, but because they go back and forth and remove any kind of form of exposition, or just kind of like, even like certain things that kind of pop up on the screen, you're just like, your attention is consistently drawn, you're consistently being captivated by what's happening, and also very much so like feeling outside your comfort zone, because there is a real life lesson that I don't want to describe in this one. You'll find out by the end of the movie that is easily profoundly shown by the end of the film. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell button, and go check out The Irishman as soon as you can. Peace, guys.